So while we're here today on farm, we're going to put our granulated product under the test by spreading it up to 36 metres. So as well as the physical properties of fertiliser, we need to be considering the chemical makeup of the fertiliser by way of the nutrients that are in there. Typically nitrogen has been the mainstay when it comes to applications and products, but we should also now consider the sulphur element to that product, because we know that 90% or more of soils are now not delivering the sulphur the crop actually requires. That brings into then the discussion about how best to manage that sulphur, and that really is then down to the choice of product. When we're looking at nitrogen and sulphur grades, then we can either choose ones with high levels of sulphur or low levels of sulphur. But what we should do is really think about the amount that the crop requires, and then how the sulphur actually behaves by way of a nutrient. And there's things to consider there really very much are the mobility of that sulphur. That is very similar to nitrogen when it comes to the soil. So in other words, it can be lost through water movement, through leaching out of the profile fairly quickly. But when it comes to the crop itself, then they're two very different situations there. The nitrogen is very easily mobilised within the plant, so it can move it from old leaves to young leaves very easily. Whereas sulphur is completely the reverse there. It's very immobile in the plant. So when that plant takes up the sulphur, and it stores it in the older leaves, and it doesn't move then through to the younger leaves very easily, or that takes much longer time. So when we're thinking about managing our sulphur applications, we should really be putting them in through multiple applications. So we would recommend a minimum of 2 there in the programme, so that with the nitrogen and the sulphur going on together through those first 2 applications, then we can meet the needs of that growing crop for its sulphur right through that growing season. That's where the product Axan, Yarrabella Axan, really does come into its own, that it's supplying a nice ratio of nitrogen and sulphur through the growing season to meet that growing crop's demand.